Good morning to one and all. We will learn how to convert active voice to passive voice. Active voice to passive voice. ये हमारा एक्टिव पैसिव वॉइस का लेक्चर है। आज हम एक्टिव वॉइस को पैसिव वॉइस में कन्वर्ट करना सीखेंगे। एक्टिव एंड पैसिव वॉइस। रूल्स फॉर प्रेजेंट परफेक्ट टेंस। Now, we will elaborate rules of active and passive voice with examples. For present perfect tense. First, let's know what are tense. Present perfect tense. The present perfect is a verb tense, which is used to show that an action has taken place once or many times before now. The present perfect is most frequently used to talk about experiences or changes that have taken place. But there are other less common uses as well. Present perfect tense. किसी ऐसे एक्शन को शो करने के लिए जो अभी से पहले बहुत बार हो चुका है। प्रेजेंट परफेक्ट टेंस को अपने एक्सपीरियंसेस शेयर करने के लिए या पास्ट में किए गए चेंजेस को बताने के लिए उपयोग करते हैं। प्रेजेंट परफेक्ट फॉर्म्स। द प्रेजेंट परफेक्ट इज फॉर्म्ड यूजिंग हैज और हैव प्लस past participle. Questions are indicated by inverting the subject and has or have. Negatives are made with not. We can convert same example as statement. You have seen that movie many times. Question. Have you seen that movie many times? Negative. You have not seen that movie many times. Present perfect unspecified time. We use the present perfect to say that an action happened at an unspecified time before now. The exact time is not important. You cannot use the present perfect with specific time expressions such as yesterday, 1 year ago, last week, when I was a child, when I lived in Japan. At that moment, that day, one day, etc. We can use the present perfect with unspecific expressions such as ever, never, once, many times, several times, before. So far. Already. Yet, etc. Present perfect tense को वो एक्शन बताने के लिए उपयोग करते हैं जो पहले हो चुका है एक अनस्पेसिफाइड टाइम के साथ। हम प्रेजेंट परफेक्ट टेंस को स्पेसिफिक टाइम एक्सप्रेशंस yesterday, 1 year ago, last week, when I was a child, when I lived in Japan. At that moment, that day, one day. बताने के लिए उपयोग नहीं कर सकते। अनस्पेसिफिक टाइम एक्सप्रेशंस बताने के लिए हम प्रेजेंट परफेक्ट टेंस का उपयोग कर सकते हैं जैसे एवर, नेवर, once, many times, several times, before, so far, already, yet. Examples. I have seen that movie 20 times. I think I have met him once before. There have been many earthquakes in California. People have traveled to the moon. People have not traveled to Mars. Have you read the book yet? Nobody has ever climbed that mountain. Has there ever been a war in the United States? Yes, there has been a war in the United States. How do you actually use the present perfect? The concept of unspecified time can be very confusing to English learners. It is best to associate present perfect with the following topics. Experience. You can use the present perfect to describe your experience. It is like saying, I have the experience of. You can also use this tense to say that you have never had a certain experience. The present perfect is not used to describe a specific event. Examples: I have been to France. This sentence means that you have had the experience of being in France. Maybe you have been there once, or several times. I have been to France 3 times. You can add the number of times at the end of the sentence. I have never been to France. This sentence means that you have not had the experience of going to France. I think I have seen that movie before. He has never traveled by train. John has studied 2 foreign languages. Have you ever met him? No, I have not met him. Change over time. We often use the present perfect to talk about change that has happened over a period of time. हम present perfect का उपयोग करते हैं वो change के बारे में बात करने के लिए जो एक लंबे समय के दौरान हुई है. Examples: You have grown since the last time I saw you. The government has become more interested in arts education. Japanese has become one of the most popular courses at the university since the Asian Studies program was established. My English has really improved since I moved to Australia. Accomplishments. We often use the present perfect to list the accomplishments of individuals and humanity. You cannot mention a specific time. हम present perfect tense को उपयोग करते हैं किसी के accomplishment बताने के लिए. Examples: Man has walked on the moon. Our son has learned how to read. Doctors have cured many deadly diseases. Scientists have split the atom. An uncompleted action you are expecting. We often use the present perfect to say that an action which we expected has not happened. Using the present perfect suggests that we are still waiting for the action to happen. वो action जो expected था लेकिन हुआ नहीं. हम present perfect tense उपयोग करके वो बता सकते हैं कि हम अभी भी wait कर रहे हैं उस action के होने का. Examples: James has not finished his homework yet. Susan hasn't mastered Japanese, but she can communicate. Bill has still not arrived. The rain hasn't stopped. Multiple actions at different times. We also use the present perfect to talk about several different actions which have occurred in the past at different times. Present perfect suggests the process is not complete and more actions are possible. Present perfect tense से हम वो भी बता सकते हैं जो past में अलग अलग टाइम पर हुआ था. Present perfect tense हमें बताता है कि process अभी भी complete नहीं हुई है और actions possible है. Examples: The army has attacked that city 5 times. I have had 4 quizzes and 5 tests so far this semester. We have had many major problems while working on this project. She has talked to several specialists about her problem, but nobody knows why she is sick. Time expressions with present perfect. When we use the present perfect, it means that something has happened at some point in our lives before now. Remember, the exact time the action happened is not important. Sometimes, we want to limit the time we are looking in for an experience. We can do this with expressions such as in the last week, in the last year, this week, this month, so far, up to now, etc. Examples: Have you been to Mexico in the last year? I have seen that movie 6 times in the last month. They have had 3 tests in the last week. She graduated from university less than 3 years ago. She has worked for 3 different companies so far. My car has broken down 3 times this week. Notice last year and in the last year are very different in meaning. Last year means the year before now, and it is considered a specific time, which requires simple past. In the last year means from 365 days ago until now. It is not considered a specific time, so it requires present perfect. Last year और in the last year के बहुत अलग अलग मीनिंग है. लास्ट ईयर मतलब अभी के पहले, इसको स्पेसिफिक टाइम माना जाता है, जिसे सिंपल पास्ट चाहिए. इन द लास्ट ईयर मतलब आज से 1 साल पहले, जिसको स्पेसिफिक टाइम नहीं माना जाता है, तो उसको प्रेजेंट परफेक्ट टेंस चाहिए. एग्जाम्पल्स: I went to Mexico last year. I went to Mexico in the calendar year before this one. I have been to Mexico in the last year. I have been to Mexico at least once at some point between 365 days ago and now. Duration from the past until now. Non-continuous verbs, present perfect duration. With non-continuous verbs and non-continuous uses of mixed verbs, we use the present perfect to show that something started in the past and has continued up until now. For 5 minutes, for 2 weeks, and since Tuesday are all durations which can be used with the present perfect. हम present perfect tense का उपयोग वो कम जो past में start हुआ था और अभी भी चल रहा है, उसको शो करने के लिए उपयोग कर सकता है. Examples: I have had a cold for 2 weeks. She has been in England for 6 months. Mary has loved chocolate since she was a little girl. Although the above use of present perfect is normally limited to non-continuous verbs and non-continuous uses of mixed verbs, the words live, work, teach, and study are sometimes used in this way even though they are not non-continuous verbs. We will learn how to convert active voice to passive voice.